PlateUp is a hybrid restaurant management and roguelike game, developed by It's Happening and published by Yogscast Games. But is it just another generic cooking sim, or a wannabe replica of Overcooked? Or is it something unique that stands on its own as a game worth playing? To find out, let's take a look at its gameplay. PlateUp differs right out of the gate from other cooking games like Overcooked because instead of playing through quick levels and trying to max star them, you're managing a single restaurant across multiple days with the goal of improving your restaurant and keeping it open as long as possible. In Overcooked, the emphasis of the game is on teamwork and objectives, while the kitchen levels change drastically around you. You'll knock each other around and sometimes even off the map, and the map itself will try to impede you. However, PlateUp's vibe is much different. While it still feels fast-paced and at times a bit chaotic, you can't knock each other around as much, and the restaurant doesn't change around you or try to hold you back in any way. Instead, the game is what you make it, because PlateUp allows you to strategically choose the layout of your restaurant, which appliances and items you use, and what appliances and items you upgrade. If you're into automation, you can also fully automate your restaurant if you'd like. But this, too, is entirely optional. All in all, PlateUp feels much less like hectic, dramatic chaos, and more like a strategic cooking sim. And due to its non-level-based nature, PlateUp also feels more innately replayable than competitors like Overcooked. While you can replay all of the Overcooked levels to defeat them on their hardest difficulties, there's not much else to do once you've completed all of Overcooked's levels and DLCs. Gameplay is linear, and you don't have much say in the layout or equipment of the kitchens. The challenge of the game comes from adapting to the developer's pre-designed obstacles and layouts. On the other hand, PlateUp can be played nearly endlessly, since you're able to unlock new recipes and restaurant layouts to start out with as you play, choose different recipe cards, challenges, and buffs throughout your run, and you can experiment with different appliances and strategies each time you play. This means as long as you enjoy the feel of cooking, serving, and designing your restaurant, you could theoretically enjoy this game for many playthroughs. Something else that sets PlateUp's gameplay loop apart from other cooking management games is the roguelite element of the game. The items you can choose to build in your restaurant each day are randomized. You'll be presented with modifier cards to choose from every few days that allow you to select how your run becomes more difficult. You'll be able to choose a restaurant theme, which can affect the buffs your restaurant receives from decorations, and more. And if you're able to keep your restaurant open for 15 days, you reach overtime mode, meaning if your restaurant is forced to close anytime after that, you can decide whether or not you'd like to franchise it. If you do, that means you'll be able to keep the recipe you chose to start with, as well as the modifier cards you selected in your run when you start anew. You can choose a new restaurant layout and take some items from your lobby with you into this next run too, hopefully to make things easier for you during your next go. And each time you reach overtime mode as well, even if you don't choose to franchise your restaurant, you'll earn an item that you can use in a future run, as well as experience points that will eventually unlock new starter recipes and more map layouts for you to play. Some players absolutely love these deep roguelite elements that PlateUp has, but of course, other more casual players might not enjoy the innate hardcore nature of the game, because if you fail to serve one customer in time, or don't get them seated at a table fast enough, you will lose your run and have to start over from zero, so this can definitely be frustrating for some players. However, modding the game is something that is supported in PlateUp, and thankfully there are mods that allow you to restart the day if it looks like you're going to lose. So even more casual players can potentially enjoy this game too, without having to worry about losing their entire restaurant to one mistake. But of course, like other roguelites, losing is intended to be part of this game, so this is not a game where you should expect to keep the same restaurant forever. And losing after you've gotten into overtime allows you to unlock even more recipes to try out, so there is content that you'll be rewarded with even after you end your run. So keep that in mind if you don't like games where you do need to start fresh eventually. Speaking of mods, I have to mention the mods for this game. PlateUp has an impressive modding community that has added in a ton of great mods that improve the quality of life in the game, add new cosmetics for your character to dress up in, and even add new recipes to experiment with in your runs. Do keep in mind that after an update from developers drops, your mods will probably break, and you might need to remove some or wait for them to be updated for the game to work normally again. But from what I've seen, most of the modders for this game are fairly active, and even if they aren't, the inactive mods are often picked up by other modders and kept up to date from there. So there's a lot of extra content that comes from the mods, as well as some nice features that just make the general gameplay smoother and more intuitive. So there's a lot of extra content that comes from the modding community. And before we move too far away from the topic about the developers doing updates to the game, PlateUp does seem to be actively updated by the developers. It's a fully released title, so more content updates aren't exactly expected for this stage in its release, but the team still provides players with not only seasonal events that can greatly change up the actual mechanics of the game, but also with occasional brand new recipes. Also, I usually don't mention single player in games like this because I typically prefer to play these sorts of games with friends, but I have spent a lot of time playing PlateUp solo. I expected this game to be more of an arcadey multiplayer game that relied heavily on the co-op experience, but it's actually not really like that. Because PlateUp has automation elements, its single player actually feels quite enjoyable and challenging in a way that is different from the multiplayer vibe of the game. As a solo player, you likely won't be able to handle all roles in your restaurant, like cooking and serving and cleaning, forever. So the technology you invest in will be quite different than what you do in multiplayer, and you'll need to think of creative solutions to auto-cook food for you, auto-clean dishes, and maybe even auto-serve your customers. Playing this game single player can really feel like a cooking management game mixed more with a Factorio sort of vibe. So it can be quite enjoyable, whether you're a casual or hardcore solo player who enjoys that sort of mix of genres. And now, let's discuss multiplayer. PlateUp is playable in local co-op or online multiplayer, and it supports up to 4 total players. Multiplayer runs pretty smoothly, and usually if there are issues with someone joining a game, they're typically based around players having a mod or game version mismatch. For most mods, only the host does need to have them though, which is quite nice if you're playing with a large group and don't want to have to coordinate mod lists with everyone. I should mention too that it is possible to play PlateUp with more than 4 people. Using a mod called MMO Kitchen, you can reportedly play the game with up to 100 players, although I can't imagine how you'd even fit that many people into a restaurant at once. I have tested this mod myself and played with 9 friends in total, and that did run just as fine as the normal multiplayer in the game though. So if you're looking for a game you could enjoy with a big group that isn't a survival crafter, this is actually a really great option. But the more players you add in, the easier that PlateUp will feel. So if you do have a very large group playing, I recommend trying out one of the turbo maps, as it will make the game a lot harder and possibly more balanced for the larger group size. And now, the price. PlateUp is $20 on Steam, which is slightly higher than Overcooked 1 at $16.99, and slightly lower than Overcooked 2 at $24.99, if you don't include all of the Overcooked 2 DLCs, which can bring the price of the full game up another $20 or more. I usually consider $1 to $2 per hour of playtime a good value. And going through the Steam reviews, it looks like many players have gotten at least 20 hours of playtime out of this game, with some players even getting hundreds. So it does seem like, for most, the game is a pretty good deal even at full price. But of course, you can always wait for a sale around holidays or a major game update if you'd like. And the game does go on some very big sales. Around fall and winter, I've even seen it get discounts of up to 60% or more. Alright, time for my final thoughts. I could tell you all about how PlateUp is one of my favorite games of all time, or the fact that in addition to those other Steam users, I also have hundreds of hours playing it. But instead, I'm just going to say, if you're looking for a game that combines the cooking feel of Overcooked with the replayability of roguelites, PlateUp is a great game to try. You can go all in on creating a hardcore permadeath challenge for yourself, or you can just play casually and make some fun memories with your friends. But the best thing you can do to see for yourself if you like it or not is to just play the free demo of it on Steam. It'll show you the basic gameplay loop, and if you enjoy that, you'll probably like the game itself, because the full version has essentially more of that feel, spiced up with different recipes and customization. And I think even in the demo version, You can play all the way up to day 6, try a recipe or two, and maybe even play in local split screen. So there's definitely enough content to check out there to determine if you're going to like the game or not. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully all this information was helpful to you when it came to deciding whether or not to try or purchase PlateUp. If you found this video informative, please give it a quick like, and if you want to watch more of my videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you've played PlateUp, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Thanks again, and I hope to see you again in my next video.